Hi, friends, and welcome to the Shits and Gigs podcast, where the vibe is high, the humor gets raunchy, and things get spicy when we talk about food. I have a special guest tonight. Her name is Brittany, and she is also a first-time mama like myself, with the exception she is from Canada. So I'm really excited to connect with her tonight and dive in on that because I don't know, she has a really awesome vibe. She's super authentic and she just gives her all in the most genuine way possible from what I can tell just
Oh,
through the screens.
that's
So
so sweet.
so I'm really excited to connect with her tonight and just kind of bring transparency to motherhood because social media is amazing because it connects us with potentially thousands of people or even more than that. But it also tends to still sugarcoat the hard stuff. So we're just looking to kind of walk through our first year, or you're almost at a year, right?
I 9 months today, so yeah, that
Oh,
year mark is coming up, so
congratulations.
yeah. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it comes up so quick.
Yeah.
Our little guy turned one, 2 weeks ago now.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it went by
Yeah.
so fast.
I
Like
remember seeing pictures and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I feel like that's gonna be us in no time."
yeah, I
Yeah.
know. It's crazy. And what was I gonna say? Yeah, so we're just gonna dive in on all things motherhood. And also just genuinely really excited to see how things differ from Canada and the United States.
Yeah, totally.
So let's just how about, and also for whoever's listening, this is like the first time we're ever meeting, which is kind of cool. I figured I had like the urge to do like a little chat beforehand, but I was like, I don't know, I feel like it would be interesting for like the audience to meet you with me. So
Yeah,
if we're a
100%.
little ox sauce, guys, it's because it's literally the first time we're ever meeting.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So true.
So let's have a good time tonight and let's just see how things are the same, how things are different, and connect about having an opinion and living in the hood, the motherhood. Um, so we met on Instagram and we kind of just like swiped up on each other's stuff, I think,
Yeah.
essentially just connecting through different things that we experienced. I think the
Mhm.
first thing we connected on was sleep.
Yeah.
And
Of course, sleep is like
yeah.
the number one thing that I
Oh
feel
my
like
gosh.
all first-time moms talk about.
Yes. So that is one hot topic we're going to hit tonight, but I figured we would first start with birth, because that was honestly up until like this present point, my favorite part of motherhood so far was like my birth
Yeah.
story.
Oh,
And I just felt like going into birth, I felt very empowered and I try to really like with any like potential new mamas that I meet, I always say that like knowledge is power
like,
because
yeah.
I just felt like so fearless like heading into birth because I took
Oh,
the time to like take courses or like binge watch
yeah.
videos on YouTube or something.
Literally, so did we. Yeah, we
Yeah.
we took courses too.
Yeah, and it's just so important. And I think that really transitions into having like a really empowered birth instead of
Yeah.
having this like event that is like I don't know. I feel like there's just so much anticipation for so many
Yeah.
moms out there
Yeah.
because there's just so many unknowns because
Yeah.
they
There is.
either maybe didn't have the time to look into things or
Yeah.
just were kind of like winging it without like proper guidance from their healthcare team too.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah. So
Yeah,
what
and I feel like
was
a lot didn't have the resource. Some don't have the resources either. It depends on like
like,
your geographical location. Do they have like we were so lucky we have early ons. I don't know, do you guys have early on centers or something like that where you go and take classes and bring your kids to, so on and so forth?
There are a couple places where you could like drop in and pay for a class, I would guess, or I would say.
Okay.
But as far as like the pre-parenting courses after COVID, they're like now all completely virtual, which I think is kind of
Oh.
disempowering to not have that
Yeah.
in-person experience. I think there were some like in the area that you could plug into, but they're not like covered by your health insurance.
Oh
And
wow.
they're
So
like
that's different then.
yeah, and they're probably like somewhere around like 500 plus dollars too. They're not like cheap.
Wow. Wow.
So,
That's so different because
yeah,
ours are free.
yeah,
So
that's
that's
amazing.
just yeah, and that's just an example of yeah, some people like you some wouldn't be able to afford that. And
Yeah.
that's not necessarily fair. Like we have early on centers and everything, a lot of the classes are offered for free. And
Yeah.
it's same with like I can bring Lenny to a baby massage class there and that's free. Like a
No
mommy and me
way.
class that like and I've met other moms there. So that's kind of, I guess, privilege on our end.
Yeah. So yeah, that's wonderful that you guys get that complimentary to your healthcare.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's definitely something in the United States that is lacking. I
Yeah.
guess another thing we could touch upon, because now I'm curious, is maternity leave
Yeah.
for women here. So I'm an entrepreneur actually, so I don't technically get a maternity leave. There's
Right.
there's no type of built-in support through any health insurance
Wow.
for like entrepreneurs, which I'm not sure if that's the same for you guys.
Right.
Um, what was I gonna say? Maternity leave, I think is typically like 6 weeks.
Wow. Yes. So I do follow, yeah, some other moms that are must be from the States because they were talking about how their maternity leave is, yeah, 6 or 8 weeks, depending on their company. But
Yeah.
yeah, we're so blessed here that it can be 12 to 18 months.
No
Um,
way.
yeah. So it's
That's
not like
amazing.
you don't get your full salary, of course, but we definitely get something.
Wow.
And your job security, like you have your job there when you go back. So that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
So I know whenever I see videos of that, even like sometimes I can catch myself being like, oh, because we took 12 months as a family and
Yeah.
that time's coming up and I'm finding myself like, oh, I really don't want to go back. But then I see and I'm kind of reminded about a lot of moms in the States that don't have maternity leave at all or are offered such a short time. So that's
Yeah.
just, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's tough. If you obviously need any support during that time, let me know because that is like a really tough transition.
Yeah.
Um, because you just get such into like a routine with the baby
Yes.
and everything, and then
Yeah.
there's this like trust that you now have to have in
For
someone else watching the
sure.
baby. So that's
Yes.
definitely a tough transition, and I don't think
Yeah.
a lot of moms give themselves enough grace during that time.
For sure. No, it's so true. And I'm a teacher and I feel like the whole idea of now becoming a mom, I feel like my whole mindset has obviously shifted. I just think about all of those parents. I know a lot of them have their kids in daycare, but I was in kindergarten for a long time. And when their
Mhm.
parents would drop off, they'd be so upset because, they're letting their babies go off to school. And
Yeah,
I just feel like I can really resonate with them now and those emotions
right.
that they're going through. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be hard to drop her off at daycare.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
it'll all work out, but
Oh, absolutely,
it'll be
absolutely,
tough.
for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, we'll get through it.
Yeah. All right. So we talked maternity leave. Let's chat. I think we were talking about ultrasounds briefly
Yes.
online today. So
Hmm.
I did ask a couple friends that came into work, and
Oh,
we
okay.
do get, I believe, two
Okay.
ultrasounds also kind of covered, I guess, through your insurance.
Right.
And like I mentioned, they kind of discourage getting excess
Yeah.
because of potential like harmful rays to the baby, I believe, is
Right.
their reasoning behind it. Um, but it was the two, and then oh, we also talked about the cervical checks. For me,
Right.
I went to a midwifery. I just happened to be referred to it, but I'm kind of glad because I really loved their approach on birth
Same.
practices and stuff.
Yes.
Um, but we did have access to like the OB at the hospital. God forbid we needed the medical intervention.
Yeah.
So that was also reassuring.
Absolutely.
And I found towards the end, because my friend had just had a baby too. So like I was very present for her
That's
whole
nice.
experience, which was really nice.
Yeah.
Um, so she had told me again today that they offered cervical checks, I think at 36 weeks at the
Oh,
OB
okay.
practice. And then, but at the midwifery, I had to ask for it. Like
Oh,
they didn't
really?
necessarily offer it, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, no, that is really interesting. And you said too that it was more so around, was it 8 weeks that you got your first ultrasound?
Yes. Yeah.
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 I think that's the earliest they'll do one.
Yeah, yeah, ours here are typically 11 to 12 weeks, which I don't know, as a first-time mom, I was so anxious and just
Yeah.
really wanting to know that everything was okay, and I felt like I
Right.
couldn't fully, I also have a little bit, like, I'm a little bit of a worrywart. So
Yeah.
I just felt like I couldn't fully be
That's
excited, or
essentially.
like, yeah, I was almost like protecting myself a little bit until I knew that everything was okay.
Mhm.
So 8 weeks would have been great. Just that little
Yeah.
bit sooner to have that check and say that like everything's good.
Right. Well, I mean, that's essentially the first trimester,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
which I could maybe see the reasoning behind that because like that's obviously where the highest risk for miscarriage is. So
For
like maybe
sure.
they don't want to cover care before it's like really necessary,
Yeah.
I guess.
Mhm.
But oh my gosh, yeah, that's so anxiety provoking.
Yeah, it was, it was. And then, yeah, and then around the 20-week mark to find out the gender if you so wished,
Hmm.
and then to make sure everything good anatomy wise. And then, yeah, for me, I was diagnosed with gestational diabetes around 24 weeks. So then
Oh,
I was
okay.
considered high risk.
Got it.
So I went back quite often for checks to make sure that everything was good and she wasn't growing too big,
Right.
but everything was good. And that was a whole other journey on its own to make sure that my sugars were in check. And we had a little bit of
Yeah.
difficulties along the way.
I can
Um,
only imagine. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it was really tough, especially with like cravings and everything. You can
Right?
imagine that. Yeah, that was really tough.
Yeah.
But no, all was good, and she was
Now,
born
did you have
healthy.
to change anything other than like your diet choices for maintaining that?
Yeah, so at first everything was going well with just the dietary changes. But
Mhm.
then as I progressed and the weeks went on, something happened where around dinner time, I could eat the same thing that I would have at lunchtime, but it didn't matter. My sugar levels were spiking, and
Oh,
I couldn't
really?
control it at the dinner time mark. I don't know what was going on. A lot of it can be just hormonal
Got
that
it.
can cause those issues. So I actually ended up having to go on insulin just once a day around dinner to
Got
make sure
it.
that my sugar levels stayed low. And that was honestly quite stressful because anytime I would prick my finger and see a high reading, it's like you feel so much guilt
Yeah.
as a mother. And I feel like that started early for me because I was already feeling guilty. Like I'm not able to protect her. It felt like that
Mhm.
I was spiking in sugar levels, and but um, I was able to work through that, and my
Yeah.
husband was really great during that time. So that was
Partnership
good to
is
have,
huge
like,
during the whole thing.
yes. Hmm.
I
Yeah.
definitely don't recommend getting pregnant with someone you can't really call your partner. Because
100% don't recommend. It's so
yeah,
true. And yeah, having somebody like there to support you through that whole time is so
mhm,
important. So
for sure.
it's not just good to like pick a good husband. Yeah, they say like pick a good future dad too.
Yeah,
So yeah,
absolutely.
that's important.
Yeah, definitely need to and, like, teamwork is everything, like, there's not
Yeah,
anything that I would do that he wouldn't do and vice
so
versa,
true.
and that is what, like, makes the hard parts, like, that much, like, a little bit easier because like,
That
you just
is
have,
so
like, that
true.
true friend and, like, I don't
Yeah.
know, the battle zone, we could call it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like at the end of the day, you're both sitting down and you're like, what just happened? Like,
Yeah,
what was that day?
yeah.
Because
Is this even
I
real
truly
life?
feel like, yeah, you need that person. And
Yeah.
they were in it with you. My husband gets home around 5 o'clock. So it's
Yeah.
kind of nice that I'm home with Lenny during the day. And then when he gets home, it's kind of like, okay, you
Yeah.
go and kind of do a bit of a handoff where
Yeah.
okay, even if like I'm starting to cook dinner or something,
Right.
like it's just nice to kind of have that break
Yeah.
and to kind of like recharge during that time. Or in the early days when we were talking about sleep deprivation and like I
Yeah.
wasn't sleeping, he would actually come home and I would come in this guest room that I'm
Yeah.
sitting in and I would nap for an hour.
Oh,
So that was really,
I should have done that, but I
really
didn't.
good. I know. It was bad. It
Too
was
much
really
pressure
bad.
over here. We don't
Yeah.
have enough chill in our lifestyle.
I was so, yeah, so delirious during that time. That feels like that feels like yesterday, but also feels like such a long time ago. So I'm
Yeah,
glad we're not
I
there
totally feel
anymore.
that to my core.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you guys are doing. We haven't really connected about sleep in a little bit, but
Yeah.
as of maybe a week ago, we had like finally consistently sleeping like through the night. Not necessarily every night, but the most consistently.
Oh my gosh, that is so exciting. That gives
Yeah.
me hope because we're not there yet. But we have come leaps and bounds because,
Good.
yeah, where we were even like, I want to say 3 or 4 months ago is, yeah, so different.
Night
We're at
and
like
day.
yeah, night and day for sure. And it feels like when you're in it, you'll never get out of it. And
Yeah.
this is like advice to any moms that are in it, it
Right.
does pass. And I remember hearing that advice and I'm like, does it though? Because I feel
Yeah.
like I'm gonna
Yeah.
be
Everyone
exhausted
talked up
forever.
the
Yeah.
4 month mark and got my hopes up.
Yes, yes, it's so
And then it
true.
just kept slipping by. And I was like, he's still not sleeping.
That is so true. That is so true. I remember, and I would even like Google in the middle of the night, like
Oh,
when
yeah.
do babies typically start sleeping through the night? And I would see like 5 months or 6 months. So I'm like just holding on to hope, and
Right. You
we're
always find
still
like
not.
one article that's like the next month.
Yeah, exactly. We're still not there yet, but
Yeah.
we'll get
How many
there.
times is she waking up?
Yeah, so typically 1 to 2 times. It's
Okay,
so
yeah.
funny too. Like I swear, whenever I talk about sleep, it's going to change, but that's okay.
Yes. Literally
She hears
yesterday,
me.
I shared the news about him sleeping through the night consistently, and then he woke up
Yeah.
twice last night.
I swear they know.
Mhm.
Yeah, so yeah, 1 to 2 times. It's strange because it really changes. She'll go
Mhm.
a week where it's 1 o'clock and then 4 o'clock. This past week, it's been once and it's been at 10:30. So strange. It's like they just kind
Yeah.
of put you down and then
Yep.
you're already waking up. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure. We're
I
struggling
honestly
with
feel
early
like
mornings.
he was doing something very similar at that same exact time. Was she
Yeah.
a reflux baby?
So no, she
No?
really wasn't. There was a time when yeah, when you're postpartum and I was in the depths of Google and I thought maybe she was, but looking back now, she wasn't. Yeah.
No. I only asked because Cam is, so I was curious if that
Okay.
was like a common factor. But
Wow.
I guess they're just crappy
And does
sleepers.
he sleep on his tummy now?
Oh yeah, he's a big
Yeah.
tummy sleeper.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same with Lenny. That was hard for us, or for me
Yeah.
more so initially. I remember when she started to flip over, I'd tell my husband, like, Joe, Lenny flipped to her stomach, like, you got to go up and flip her back over. So he'd go up
Yeah.
and flip her over. And then I
Yeah.
remember I wrote something on Instagram asking other moms saying, or put up a poll or something like, should I flip her or should I leave her? And like 99% were like, leave her. Like, don't
Yeah.
flip her back. She's
I know.
fine.
It is a very scary
And
thing though.
here I am.
I
Yeah.
only had a little bit of peace because we invested in that outlet sock. Do you guys have that
Oh,
in
did
Canada?
you? I thought about getting that and I
Yeah.
didn't, but we do have it here.
Yeah, I honestly, so there's two, like there's a pros and cons. Like pros is it gives you so much information that is very reassuring, like your baby is alive
Yeah.
and well.
Yeah.
But for people who stress about like the
Yeah.
nitty-gritty of the numbers, it might be like anxiety provoking.
Yes.
So I
So,
guess trigger warning, depending on what
yeah,
type of person you are. Um,
totally. Yeah, to be
really,
like super transparent, that is the reason why I actually decided not
mm,
to not get it because I am somebody that is a little bit obsessive when it comes to um, certain things. And I feel like I was obsessing a lot about sleep and safe sleep,
mm,
especially when I was freshly postpartum. I would say
yeah,
for like the 2 months, I had a lot of postpartum anxiety around
mm,
sleep.
yeah,
I would have a hard time falling asleep because I felt like I had to like keep jumping up to check her. So I
mhm,
felt like when we discussed getting the owlet sock, part of me I thought it would help my anxiety, but then I feel like my anxiety would just grow and evolve and become more attached to, yeah, the numbers
the
because I think it tells
numbers.
them like something about the CO2 levels, right? In
Yeah,
the
it's
body.
CO2, heart rate, and something else. It just monitors like the room temperature and humidity.
Right.
which for us, his camera's like right above the baseboard heater. So every time the heat kicks on, it says it's like it's 80 degrees in there. He's too hot. So we get
Right.
like 3 or 4 notifications a night. Luckily, like the alarm doesn't always go off, or maybe I just don't
Yes.
hear it. I don't know.
Yeah,
Um,
that alarm too, that was another thing when I was
yeah,
looking at reviews, someone said like, yeah, if you're somebody that's kind of trigger sensitive over things like this, it might not be a good idea because sometimes the alarm goes off. And I feel like for
yeah,
me, I would be almost anticipating that alarm and I wouldn't be
right.
able to like fully shut down. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that was something I had to work through was all of that. I feel like we're in a better place now that she's older. I feel a little bit more confident and just
Mm-hmm.
I feel like some of that anxiety has just dissipated as I've
Yeah,
kind
me
of grown out
too.
of that postpartum
Yeah,
phase.
we even let him sleep with a little like swaddle blanket and like 2
Oh,
stuffies.
oh, that's so cute.
Yeah, I definitely like stuffed those stuffies in my face though and tried to
See if
breathe
you
first
oh my gosh. My
because you
husband
have
and I,
to.
oh my gosh, we have so many stories of doing that. Like oh yeah, we would be on top of her mattress, stuffing our face to
Yes.
make sure that we could breathe. There was another one. Oh, it was in this bassinet that we had for her stroller that sometimes she would fall asleep in, and
Yeah.
we would bring it in the house after our walk and kind of set it to the side, and we wanted to make sure if she happened to roll, she could breathe
Mhm.
in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were so many things.
Yeah, so many crazy things we do.
Yeah.
What's something I just had an idea about sleep. Oh, when it comes to sleep training, is
Yeah.
Canada big on like crying it out? I was
That's
curious
in,
about that.
that's interesting. I know. I feel like that was um definitely a thing of maybe our parents' generation.
Yeah,
But now I feel like there is a big push for sleep independence, but not in the cry it out way, more so
yeah.
in like following kind of a Ferber method, which that is what we did end up doing that.
I feel
Um,
like I did read about that. Can you remind me about like the basic principles?
yes, so this was in a time when we were waking up maybe 6+ times a night, and I just felt like Lennon wasn't happy the next day because she wasn't getting enough sleep. I
Yeah.
obviously wasn't the best mom the next day because I wasn't getting enough sleep. And I was like, something needs to change.
Yeah.
So a sleep coach actually reached out to me and saw my kind of posts about our struggles with sleep
Yeah.
and said, and they're two retired teachers and they're from the States as well.
Oh,
Anyway, they
cool.
were super sweet and they're like, we'll work with you and try to help you get some sleep. So that was awesome. It actually did make such a big difference. So the Ferber method is there's a lot of different ways to do it. What we
Yep.
chose to do was 5-minute intervals. I knew that that's all that I could handle.
Yeah.
Um, and I also knew that if she was ever starting to be like inconsolable, I wouldn't be able to let that happen. Luckily, she was
Hmm.
mostly just fussy during those 5 minutes. She
Yeah.
was never like screaming out, like sobbing. I know that I wouldn't be able to handle that.
Yeah.
So, what we did was when she woke up, she'd start kind of fussing a bit. We'd turn on the timer, and then when the timer went off, I would go in and do check and console. So, like rubbing her back, I wouldn't pick her up. I'd just rub her back,
Hmm.
say, I love you, you're okay. Um, Not doing that until she falls back asleep, though, because again, I was trying to teach her that she's safe enough to trust herself that, I
Right.
can put myself back to sleep. Mom and dad are right here if I ever
Yeah.
need them. So then that worked really well. It only took a couple days. And then my goal was to never do that until she would sleep fully through the night.
Yep.
It was just more so 1 or 2 wake ups. And that was kind of where we landed. Also,
Nice.
Lennon is a very small eater. She's 9 months and she still only has 4-ounce
Oh my
bottles.
gosh. Cam is the
Um,
same exact way. That's so
no
funny.
way.
Yeah.
It's
He has been a 3 to 4 ounce baby
yeah.
like his entire life.
And it's been that's like a struggle in itself, like
Yeah.
making sure that they're getting enough. So I feel like for Lennon, she needs those calories at night. And I didn't feel right um not giving those to her. So that's kind of why we were okay with the 1 to 2 wake ups to just continue on to try to fill her up.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're
Yeah,
at.
we were doing bottles during the night. Probably we stopped that probably I would say like almost a month ago. But like last
Yeah.
night he ended up taking 2 bottles, like because it was just like a
Wow.
weird night for him. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think he actually is crying right now.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, but
Oh,
it's all good. Hubby's got it. But I think he has either more teeth coming in or we've been struggling. My husband and I have had this like rash. It's kind
oh,
of this like low grade hives, but like they come and go, but it's like irritatingly itchy. But they never got any worse. And they like just were kind of like they would go away, but like always kind of be there. So we didn't,
interesting.
yeah. So we thought it was like our laundry. So like over like 2 months, we exhausted all like things with like the laundry and still had it. And then it wasn't until like we already had it for maybe 2 months. Cam ended up getting a couple bumps. And I was like, how is he getting the bumps now that we're basically just using baking soda for our
Yeah.
laundry?
Oh
Like everything's
no.
cleaner. So how is he like now getting it? Long story short, he ended up testing positive for strep bacteria and he had to go on antibiotics, which I didn't love, but like
Oh,
we nothing else was working. So
sorry.
um luckily it's like much better, but like we're still trying to like where was I going with this? Um
Honestly, it's so funny that you say that. I feel like we're on the same wavelength because I'm struggling too with hives on I
no way.
actually think it's for me, I've kind of narrowed it down and it's eczema that I've kind of developed postpartum. But
What
I
is
was
it?
gonna I have some right here on the inside of my arm.
What is
I've
it called though?
also, pardon?
What is it called?
Eczema.
Oh, eggs. We call it eczema.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've actually heard people before call it eczema, and they must be from like the States because yeah, we all
probably.
call it eczema here. That's so
Yeah.
funny. Yeah, same thing.
I'll
But
have to
I've
look
been
into
having,
that. I do like moisturize pretty regularly,
yeah,
but I definitely feel like I do have eczema spots, especially on my hands, which was
right.
because those are like super itchy and I can tell it's just like
Yeah,
dry and irritated.
yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know. Where was I going with this? He's on the antibiotics. Oh yeah, so he's kind of like had a lot going on with that. But
Yeah.
I thought maybe his like stomach was bothering him last night, or I don't know if who knows? He's going through a
It
growth
honestly,
spurt.
who knows? I've been
I
saying that Lenny has been teething since she's like 4 months, and she's
yeah.
9 months and has no teeth.
Still, oh my gosh. I
I
feel
honestly
like the
keep saying that.
girls
Oh, she's
develop their
teething.
teeth later than boys because I feel like a lot of moms around here that have girls, it's always a little bit later.
Interesting. Oh, I wonder if
Yeah.
that's a thing because, oh, it could be because I have a friend, yeah, and say exactly we were actually at the same hospital. Both of our babies were born on the same day. We met on this app called
Wow.
Peanut. Do you guys
Uh,
have that app?
I don't think
It's
so, but there
it's
is
to
an
like
app I
meet.
think you can connect with moms and stuff.
Yeah, it's like Tinder, honestly, for meeting new moms. You like
So,
swipe through people's like
oh,
profiles
really?
about where
That's
they
not,
live
I
and
don't think we have that. I'll have to
yeah.
look.
Anyway, I met her on there. She's so lovely. And long story short, we found out that we basically gave birth down the hall at the same hospital.
Wow.
So we've been kind of connecting. We get together every Wednesday, and it's so fun to watch our little ones grow together, and also just have
Yeah,
a mom that is going through this at the same time and
right.
the same things. But anyway, her little boy has 2 teeth already, and yeah, Lenny has none. So it's just like another example that all babies are different, I guess. But
Yeah.
I keep saying that, okay, she's teething, like she's so fussy, she's definitely cutting a tooth, and
Yeah.
then
Like, no, that girl's just
yeah,
hungry.
yeah, exactly, yeah, just hungry, yeah, we're just being fussy, just to just to fuss, yeah,
Yeah, just a fuss.
yeah.
Um, did we like finish all the topics that we wanted to cover for birth? How about like actual birth for you guys? Do you happen to know, maybe not like a specific number, but the percentage of C-sections that you guys have?
Oh, that's interesting.
Or like, do you know if it's more common than not?
I feel like it's more common now, like elective C-sections are becoming more
Oh, okay.
common.
I
Yeah.
don't believe we have that option yet. If you can be scheduled for a C-section, I
Okay.
know it's almost always an automatic C-section scheduled if it's your second birth and you had a C-section the first
Yes.
time.
Yes. You have
Um,
to really push if you want a VBAC, they call it,
okay.
your vaginal birth for your second birth. However, yeah, I know that there's like added risk, and I
Yeah.
know a lot of people that I know that have had a C-section their first have just opted to have a C-section for their second, as they say it's safer
Yeah. I feel like most women over here too do the same thing.
than. Yeah.
Um, what was your birth experience?
Yeah, it was really positive. I too, before going into um, that time, I really made sure to do like a lot of research. But I also, and my midwife kind of gave me this advice: is stay away from any like horror birth stories. A lot
Yes.
of and they were like. I feel like my algorithm on TikTok and Instagram is definitely obviously all parenthood. And at that
Right.
time, it was all like pregnancy stuff. So I actually would get stories coming up about pregnancy. And then I had to click like not interested because I really didn't want to see them
Yeah.
because I just wanted to stay in a mindset of kind of positivity and manifesting a healthy, positive birth.
Yes. Oh, I
So
love
I'm
your
just so
language.
I was really happy that I did that because I feel like that did play into how I felt going into my birth. Also,
Absolutely.
mine was an
Hmm.
induction
Okay.
because I had gestational diabetes. I had to be induced at 39 weeks. Um,
Okay.
as I was talking with the OB at the time, because I got transferred over care to the OB around 36 weeks because of my gestational diabetes. My midwife was still able to kind of stay on my team and support me, but I did have to have an OB in the room during the delivery.
Gotcha.
Um, but anyway, now I'm like, where was I going with this?
Birth experience.
The mom brain. Oh, the
It's so
induction.
bad. It
So
really
bad.
is.
Like, how was I just in a full story and I'm like, it's blank. No, the induction. Yeah. So anyway, just going into that, I felt really calm and that I was just everything was going to go to plan. And if it didn't, everything was going to be okay. I was
Yep.
surrounded by a great medical team. I had my husband there vouching for me. I had my mom there. I
Yep.
knew that I had a voice, I could speak up. I don't know if this is a thing in the States or like if it's just a me thing because I'm a teacher and I'm a little bit, as I said, OCD. I actually created a birth plan. Do you guys do
Um,
that there?
so because I researched, I like went to the hospital with literally a booklet with
Same
all of
here.
my preferences because in case I couldn't like advocate out loud, it was very
Yes.
clearly written down.
Yes, that's exactly what
Yeah.
I did. And it was like on this nice piece of paper and it was all outlined like what I was hoping the like atmosphere would be like. And
Yes.
yeah, that's so funny.
I think that is such a power move if you do that for
It
yourself
is.
as like a new mom.
Yeah.
Um, clarity is knowledge and clarity, I feel like are
Yeah.
like the biggest things. And
Yes.
so, like I mentioned, since our health insurance doesn't necessarily have a pre like or
Right.
pre-parenthood course or whatever it is called,
Yeah.
we ended up investing. I followed this doula, Built to Birth on
Oh,
Instagram. 10 out of 10 recommend her. She is like literally incredible. Watch her birth
oh,
stories. I've
oh,
watched
that's
them
so,
like 20 times.
oh, that's so
Yeah,
sweet.
they're just so empowering, but she
I love
has
that.
literally such an amazing pregnancy course. It's like pre,
Oh, nice.
during, and postpartum. There's journal prompts, there's different like affirmation like audios you can
Oh,
download of
wow.
hers. She has a pre and postpartum fitness program as part of it.
Oh, wow.
Nutrition. It's like literally everything and anything you need to like honestly be healthy in general, but like it's
Yeah.
definitely geared towards obviously a healthy like vessel, essentially.
Yeah. I love
Creating
that.
a healthy
That's so
vessel.
important.
Yeah, but she's awesome. So educating with her. Oh shoot, where were we?
No, we
Um,
were just talking.
oh,
No.
fear clearing is where I was going. She
Yeah.
had a section on fear clearing, which is essentially like for me, tearing was like a huge thing. Like I just
Yeah.
could not even fathom what that would feel like, and I just did
That's
not
so
want
true.
to.
I felt like that too.
Yeah, so she essentially has you dive into like your fear. So then you know like all of the possibilities. So worst case
Yeah.
scenario, you're like fully educated
Yeah.
essentially. Oh, my little light died. All right, hold on. I gotta turn up my living room light.
No, that's okay, no problem.
So yeah, fair clearing was huge, but yeah, education in general was big
Yeah.
going into birth for sure. Definitely write a birth plan and yeah, bring it on paper because I think avocation is another huge thing new
Yeah.
moms need to like really educate themselves because you just go in like if you don't do the research,
Yeah,
like
you're
you
like,
just go
"Oh,
in
here."
there blind.
Yeah, and it's like you have a say at the
Mhm.
end of the day.
Right.
To like obviously a certain extent, if there's a medical emergency, obviously they're going to do what's best for you and baby.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, you have a say, and I feel like it's taking control over your experience, and it's also I love writing things down. I just feel
Mhm.
like that's part of like manifesting a positive experience. It's
Right.
like I'm writing
Absolutely.
this down. This is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Of course, I did go in with the mindset that, yeah, probably not everything that I would hope to happen is going to, but at least it's
Mhm.
out there. It's clear that this is kind of what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
And my nurse really liked it.
Yeah.
And no, it was a
That
good thing.
helps them
And
connect with your experience
it
because
does. And
that's
even
like
like,
yeah.
yeah,
Um, that's the thing that moms need to realize, like, you're running the show there. Like,
yeah,
they're there to support you.
yeah,
In the United States, honestly, it's really hard to advocate sometimes. Like, I
yeah,
feel like you really have to push for yourself. And from
right.
what I've heard from other birth stories and stuff, and C-sections are very high over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think
Wow.
that's probably part lack education, but also like part our hospitals are so overflooded, like the nurses are tired and they're overworked. And so they're not, I don't know, empowering the mom to get up and move around and not like lay on the
Yeah.
bed on their back and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
No,
And
that's so true. Um, I feel like yeah, I feel like it is really important that moms know, especially first time moms. Like
mhm.
I had to do a lot of research and I had to ask the questions. I was asking all of my mom friends that have
Yeah.
already had a baby, what should I expect? Going in there, how much of a say do I have? So on and so forth.
Right.
And again, not all moms have access to those resources, but if you do, use them because yeah, nothing is more important than going into the birth experience with or into your birth with control, knowledge, clarity, all those things that we kept
Right.
touching on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel really good about sleep. We did the birth. Now that feels complete to me now. Do,
Yeah.
do you do
Okay.
you have
Good.
anything else you wanted to add from birth?
No, no, I'm so
Yeah.
happy that we both have positive experience,
Yeah.
and I
Was
feel like
yours very fast too, or no?
it actually wasn't because it was an induction. It
Oh,
wasn't
right.
fast.
Did they use
Yes,
Pitocin for you?
they did. Yes,
Yeah. Did
yeah.
you
So,
feel like your experience was very intense?
I would feel, I would say that I felt like for someone that's somewhat of a worrywart, as I've touched on, I actually felt like this sense of calm. And my mom, I
Good.
remember she even has said multiple times, whenever my birth comes up in conversation, she's like, "And you were just so calm. I can't believe you were just so calm and like in the moment and being present and
Mhm.
keeping yourself feeling like you were in control."
Yeah.
So yeah, it felt good. When the pitocin did start, yeah, things did kind of speed up.
Yeah.
I did have an epidural. Did you?
I did not. So I actually had, I think it's called, oh, that's not the word. It's essentially, so I went in the previous Friday to when I gave birth, or the Friday before, I guess is a better way to say that.
Yeah.
And because I was having contractions, they weren't super intense, but they were about 5 minutes apart. And
Okay.
I tend to have like a pretty high pain tolerance. So
Yeah.
I was like, do you think I should just like come in to get checked out? Like my water hadn't leaked or anything, but they were
Right.
like really close together. And it's obviously my first time. So I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Um, that was actually, that was it. honestly a very terrible experience. The wait time was crazy. First off, we were probably waiting over an hour before I was even
Oh,
seen.
wow. That's hard.
And again, the contractions were pretty manageable, but when they finally got me in a room, they like made me stay on my back because they have all of these things attached to me or
Yeah.
whatever. And
Hmm.
so contracting like on your back in the bed is not
Yes.
comfortable.
No, 100%. I remember going through the exact same thing at the
Yeah.
beginning. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And so then they took me, I was, I think maybe 3.5 or 4 centimeters, but I was like 70% effaced. So they're like, you can go home and like be where you're
Wow.
comfortable, which I was like, I prefer to go home because this is terrible.
Yeah.
And my goal was to try and stay at home as long as
As
I
long,
could because that's
right.
where I was comfortable and like I had
Yeah.
my room set up and stuff.
Yeah.
Just to like create that like Zen experience for
Yeah.
myself. Um, and then, so I went home and I honestly had on and off contractions, like literally hot and cold, like every single day that whole week
For day,
for days.
you were 4 centimeters dilated for days.
Well, so they didn't do another check before I gave birth. So I don't
Okay.
know like how it really progressed, honestly, over
Yeah.
the week. But I was like curb stepping like crazy, like
Wow.
going up and down hills just cause and like bouncing, doing like my hip opener stuff and whatnot.
We were
Um,
doing that too when I was trying to
yeah, like
induce labor
practicing
on
my
my own.
breathing.
Yeah.
Did you cut out the J breath?
No, what's the J breath?
So this I think was like honestly very powerful for my birth. So it's essentially it's gonna get a little raunchy, which is I guess what I announced in the beginning.
Okay.
So you essentially do like your deep breath, and then instead of like clenching down and pushing or like creating pressure, you kind of like do like a moan out. So you
Oh,
like so like you leave the vocal cords open, which
interesting.
I guess also leaves like everything down there nice and open. So it's like
Oh,
a much
wow.
more like easy flow. So like example, I would practice like literally every time I pooped because that's the closest thing to giving birth.
Yeah, that's so true.
And not for nothing, if you struggle pooping, look up J breath and do it because it
There
it
you
does
go.
help with that as well.
We're
However,
not here just for motherhood stuff.
right, no, everyone poops.
Yeah.
Um, but when it came to my birth, so I ended up going the whole week and then I woke up, I slept on the couch actually like sitting up in the corner 2 nights because it's just what was comfortable.
Yeah.
And then Friday night I was like, you know what? Like if I'm not really sleeping, I'm gonna lay in my own bed with like the heating blanket or whatever.
Yeah.
And sure enough, that was the night I like woke up and I was just having like kind of intense like period like
Yeah.
cramps.
Hmm.
Nothing again, like super painful. So I just like woke up my husband and told him I was gonna hop in the shower, just like turn on some meditation music and like relax. And then, oh, I was also wearing an adult diaper the last like week.
You do what
So
you gotta do.
yeah, so I was sporting that at this moment. And I went to go, I like literally just turned on the shower and my water like leaked a little bit. Like I knew I didn't pee, like it felt different.
Yeah. Hmm.
So, then I like was toying with the idea. I was like, okay, well, I guess like the shower's not happening because I also did, oddly enough, test for the strep bacteria. So
Oh,
they
okay.
wanted me to go in once my water broke, just so they could give me the antibiotics to protect him, like for
Right.
the birth canal.
Right.
Um, so anyways, I went to go wake up Josh. I was like, I think my water leaked. Like my contractions aren't crazy, but like they wanted me to go in. So I like was trying to call them and whatnot. But we like let the dog out. And I would say we left within like 25 minutes. It was rather quickly. And because our bag was already packed from a week ago.
Yeah. True.
Yeah. So then our hospital luckily is only like maybe 25 minutes away, especially it was 2:30 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which honestly was a very convenient time. I loved it.
Yeah, way more calm than like 5:30 rush hour.
Right. Yes. So then we're like driving and like it was they were getting more like close together. But I think just because like the breathwork practice and stuff, like I was still managing it really well.
Yeah.
Um, but we were getting close and I was like, oh my gosh, like I think this baby is like literally coming. So I was like, Just stay in there, like you can make it."
Yeah.
And I make it inside, we're checking in, I'm like working through it like at check-in. And then literally it feels like someone squeezed a water balloon inside me and it just like fell out of my vagina. And like
Wow.
my water like completely broke. And that was like the most insane feeling I've ever felt in my life.
Oh, well, they had to break my water, so I feel like I
Oh,
didn't get
really?
so I feel like I didn't get the full experience, but I do remember that feeling of it being like
Yeah, it's
so
just
much
like
pressure
whoosh,
and
like
just like yeah, like a
yeah,
and they described it as that. It's just gonna be like a gushing feeling, like are
yeah,
you ready, whatever, and I had no idea what it was gonna feel like. But
right.
yeah,
It's
that
so
was
crazy.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So then, anyways, they had to like officially check me in. I was like, I feel like I need to push. And they're like, we need to check you first. So I was like, okay, like do whatever you do, but I'm like not laying on my back. I made that like very
Yeah.
clear. I was like, if I can go on all fours, you can do whatever
Yes.
you want with me.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh my God, like you're like ready to push. So they tried to,
Wow.
I was also already opting to do the alternative birthing suite, which is like a homeopathic like center at the
Oh, okay.
hospital, which is kind of a cool option for
That
like
is
our
cool.
crappy healthcare.
Yeah, I haven't
Um,
heard of that. That's neat.
yeah, so they have like a jacuzzi tub, a queen
Wow.
size bed versus like whatever the standard is.
Right.
And then it's just like dim lighting. They have like a bunch of like electronic candles they can turn on for you.
Oh, wow.
But
That's so
I didn't end up
neat.
using any of that because
Yeah,
it happened
true. You're
so fast. We're like, let's just
sometimes.
get that far, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, so like I literally barely made it on the bed and I ended up positioning with like my arms hanging like over the back of the bed and like
Oh,
being on
okay.
my knees. And yeah, I honestly felt like because of that J breath, I was literally just focusing on the breath. And I don't know if it was like the breathing or there is something called the natural ejection like reflex. So I just don't know if I was at that point and that's what was
Yeah.
happening. But my
Mhm.
body was like literally doing all the work and I was just
Yeah.
breathing. And Josh was great. He was just like helping me like take more breaths like in the break
Yeah.
part.
That's nice.
Um, but yeah, and then he was like literally born 20 minutes later. It was crazy.
Wow. Oh, that's so special. What a sweet story. I
Yeah,
love
it was
that.
nuts. And we did wait for the gender. So that was
Oh,
also,
you did?
yeah,
Oh my gosh, no way. Wow,
yeah,
that
yeah.
makes
So
it.
they
Did
like
you have a
fasted.
feeling it was a boy?
Yeah, we honestly, I had like four dreams too that I like gave
Wow.
birth and said like Cameron James. So that was pretty
No
crazy.
way. That's
Yeah.
so crazy. Wow, I
Mhm.
love that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So, but you said you felt complete about talking about birth and stuff.
Yes.
All right,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I think we did sleep. What else do we have here? This is why I take notes because mom
Yeah.
brain.
No, it's always good
Um,
to refer to them.
oh, okay. So I will tell you, I think I don't, the recording isn't telling me how long we are, but it's close to
Oh,
8. So
okay.
we'll try and keep
Wow.
this part short so we can go
Yeah.
spend time with our hubbies.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but I know you really wanted to talk about introducing foods because you
Yes. Mhm.
baby-led weaning is also kind of like trend, I'll say trending over here. It's
Yes.
not standard still, I don't think.
Yes.
Um, but I know is that like a big push in Canada to do the baby-led
Huge.
weaning?
Yes. I would almost say it actually is becoming the standard here. Just because when I was at the early on, and I have received another handout too, from I think it was a dietitian that was
Okay.
there. It was about baby-led weaning. So the book was about how to follow more of a baby-led weaning style, what kind of foods to introduce, so on and so forth.
Got it.
And honestly, that again, me being a worrywart,
Mhm.
that was really stressful
Yeah.
for myself. Lenny also has no teeth still, as I said.
Right. Yeah.
So I just felt like that it just wasn't going to work for us. And we did try. So
Mhm.
we did start with purees, and then I felt like, okay, let's try eggs, and let's
Yeah.
try, we actually downloaded the Solid Starts app, and it tells you how to prepare the food for the age. So she
Oh,
was,
that's
I think,
interesting.
yeah, it is really cool. So it was 7 months. Um, sorry, so when she was 7 months, you're still cutting it in strips, and
Got
then
it.
that way they can like hold on to it and take like appropriate bite sizes.
Oh.
That's the whole kind of analogy behind it. Now,
Yeah.
Lennon, she would take it, and I don't know if it's because she has no teeth or what, she would just start gagging. And I know gagging is safe, but then it actually would like turn into a little bit of choking.
Yeah.
Um, we have taken a course for choking and we're prepared. We have a life vac. Do you guys have life vacs there?
Yes, my dad got me one.
Yeah, so we
It's
have the
such,
life vac, like we're
yeah,
all set
it's
up.
such an interesting concept. I'll
It
actually
is
put the link in the description for whoever's listening if you're a mom, or honestly, everyone should have one because it's for adults
100%.
too.
Yes, it
Like
is.
I literally, I like can't laugh, but like not to bring light to like a terrible situation. My parents literally had a friend die from choking on a meatball.
No
Like,
way.
so like you never know what's gonna friggin'
No,
happen.
100%.
So
And it's
my
like,
life back, because it's like
yeah,
basically it suction, it does not suction or create pressure when you push down, but when you
yeah,
come up, it like creates pressure and literally like takes the food out of the throat. So
yes,
it's definitely
yes.
a really cool
And
concept.
it's like foolproof to use.
Right.
And it comes with two. It comes with the infant insert, and then it comes with,
Hmm.
yeah, the adult one.
Yeah.
I think it's around $100, at least for us.
Yeah.
Um, Probably comparable
Yeah.
to,
I honestly am unsure. I
uh,
feel like no, I don't think it's covered by insurance here. Yeah, I think I would assume it's around the same
yeah.
price.
But
Yeah.
like, so I just love having it. It's such good.
Yeah,
It's
such peace
like
of
peace of
mind.
mind.
For
Um,
sure.
so anyway, and then my husband and I just looked at each other and we're like, why are we doing this? Like, we're doing it because everything that I see on TikTok, everything that I see on Instagram, I feel like a
Yeah.
lot of moms that are even my friends, they followed baby led weaning, but like that's what worked for them. And
Right.
it wasn't working for us. And I just felt like finally I had a little bit of like my mom intuition, or I felt like I was
Yes.
really listening to myself and being like, it's gonna be okay. We don't have to do this right now. Let's take a step
Mhm.
back and let's just continue on with the purees. And she loves her purees.
That's
We
awesome.
do a mix of like I make a lot of her purees at home, and
Yeah,
we do
us too.
have a few of like the pouches too that she uses when we're on the go.
Yeah.
But yeah, now like everything's okay. Now she's older, so now we're at 9 months,
Yeah.
and the Solid Starts app explains that you can actually start cutting into bite-sized pieces because they have that pincher grasp, and she's able to pick them up and kind
So
of
cute, right?
meld them now. Yeah, which is a lot better. She like understands the process of kind of like chewing it, or more
Yeah.
so gumming it, they say
Yeah.
for her.
Yeah.
We've only done egg and I think little bits of chicken, and she loves the puffs, of course. But and it's okay. Like everybody, I would read online, like if you only do purees, your baby's never gonna independently feed themselves or
Oh my
eat
gosh.
whole foods, or there's so much like fear mongering around it. So I
Yeah.
don't know if any moms are struggling with the whole feeding thing, and if purees is what works for you, great. If
Mhm.
baby led weaning works for you, great. I feel like
Right.
there just needs to be more of a push about like following your intuition.
Right. Yeah,
There's
that's
just
big.
Yeah, there's just like no one right way to anything
No.
at all in terms of motherhood. And I
Hmm.
feel like sometimes online we do see trends on certain things. We do see the push to do this and this is the
Yeah.
right way. But think about it and like how our parents were
Right? Yeah.
30 years ago, that felt like the right way to them too. Um,
Right.
so yeah,
Yeah.
I
And
feel
I
like
think like I don't know. I think because of being overtired and whatever obstacle you face as a new parent, you're just so eager for answers. It's
yes,
hard not to get caught up in the trends.
absolutely.
But I think you really, at some point in you kind of like hit a breaking point where
You
you're like,
do.
you just, you just know. And like
Yes.
looking back at sleep, for example, because he was born, or he just wasn't properly gaining, I guess.
Yeah.
And so they recommended us wake him up every 3 hours in the night.
Right.
And I mean, there were some times where I swear I set my alarm, but it
Yeah.
did not go off. And it had been like 5 hours, which is fantastic for a typical
Yes.
newborn to be sleeping that long. But then
Yeah.
I was riddled with anxiety because I was supposed to wake him up
Yeah.
for a feed
Aw.
when honestly he was falling asleep anyway. So like I wish
Yeah.
I just trusted my intuition, like, okay, like if he's sleeping, he's okay.
Yeah.
Like,
100%. And
and
then
if
he'll
he's
get like a
starving,
big
he's gonna
piece.
wake up.
Yes. No, it's so true. And I
Yeah.
feel like my sister-in-law was actually somebody that really kind of pushed home for me the whole fact of trusting your intuition and like
Mm.
that there is no right way. And, I feel like at the beginning of kind of my journey, I would constantly ask other moms, and it was almost like a
Yeah.
reassurance thing for me.
Mhm.
It wasn't
Same.
even, yeah, a lot of it was not wanting to um, gain more knowledge and listen to their experience. But then I did feel like I couldn't even trust my own, or like you decide. It's not a life or death decision. You
Right.
decide what do you think is right in terms of feeding. What do you think is right in terms of sleeping?
Yeah.
My sister-in-law was like, you know what's best. You know, Lenny, and you're her mom.
Mhm.
You will make the right decision. So
Yeah.
that was kind of when it kind of struck me that, yeah, you're right. Like
Yeah.
I can trust myself.
It's
And
tough. Yeah.
yeah.
It's hard to like get to that point. And I don't
Right.
know if maybe what you just said is kind of like I told you I had that weird moment with my husband when we were like watching my reel that I created for his first year. And
Yeah.
like that was the first time, like, I don't know, like this like literal jolt of energy, like just like
Yeah.
went through me. I was like, oh my God, I'm like forever connected to this baby. And like he is ours. And it's like a crazy feeling that like no one
It
can
is
really, I think, prepare you for.
so
But
true.
then it's like literally we woke up the next morning and everything was different. Like you just like you trust different, you
Yeah.
approach differently, your patience isn't as thin because I don't know, is there's once you get to that point, it's so worth it. So keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah, yeah, keep going. And
Going, you
that is a
got
good point.
this.
And that's a good point to say, and maybe just to wrap up on, is like that form of connection doesn't always happen right away for
Right.
every mom. So if like you're a new mom and right now you're feeling like, oh, I don't have that kind of connection that you were just touching upon. Well, you're
Yeah.
just saying right now this just fell all into place just after a year mark. And
Right.
like you're still going in through a lot of postpartum I think up until like 2 years, they say. So
Yeah, I would assume so.
yeah, yeah. So give yourself grace, and that time will come if it hasn't yet for
Right. Oh, way
you.
to wrap it up, Britt. Well,
I'm trying.
yeah, well, this was so fun. And
It
maybe
was.
Zoom every once in a while to catch up because I definitely
Yeah,
loved connecting with you.
yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you so much for doing this, and we'll chat soon.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Thanks, girlfriend. I'm gonna
Okay.
bye.
Bye. Have a good night.